Hi, my name is Yuba Rahmani, the project director for GGC, and I'm listening to Scene World podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Scene World podcast. Old faces again.
Yes.
Martin in the house.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, AJ is still sick, so my companion for the news part will be Martin again. And well, let's also talk about our guest that will come after the news section, and that will be Legowelt, a Dutch DJ and known figure in the retro scene when it comes to music and DJing, and Remute, aka Dennis Karamani, was in a club in Hamburg where he was actually having a gig, and he thought like, hey, why not, before you have the gig, have an interview with me for Scene World. So that means it's the first podcast episode without AJ and me, and with me in particular. So Dennis takes over after the news. And the news are that in the last news section we mentioned that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is coming physical by Limited Run Games, and it was told to be exclusive. And then last Saturday I received another email from Signature Edition, aka Merge Games from UK, and they also offer physical versions of the same game. So it's probably a similar situation like Double Dragon Neo a few years back, where first Limited Run Games has the exclusive, and then a week or two later, Signature Edition may also announce that they also release a physical thing. So if you are living in Europe, save on shipping, because it's easier to get it's cheaper to get your game shipped from UK than from USA. But of course, since UK is no longer part of the EU, you also have to pay for income tax. But get yourself informed what's cheaper for you, ordering it from UK or from USA. Anyway, we will put both links in the podcast descriptions link list, so you can decide which editions you want to use from which provider, because we think you should have the choice. Well, and also, Martin, you mentioned last time that there was another collection from Turtles. Actually, I found it on Amazon the other day, where they have the old Turtles in a compilation. I didn't know that before, but that's something I will not pre-order, but I will order myself too. I only was aware of the new game, but not that they made a compilation on the Switch of the old games. You know?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, and another news is that Joachim Hesse, the right hand of Kronk, one of the biggest German YouTubers for gaming, and also best friend of the Retro Hunter, aka Sven Fössing, had a guest recently in his live stream on Twitch, and that was Georg Müller from Germany, presenting his point-and-click adventure based on a novel he wrote called Casebook 1899, The Leipzig Murders. So it's a very nice theme if you like old automobiles and stuff, and see if you're a good detective and can find out who's the murderer. There are several chapters in the game, and you can actually play the first murder case for free on Steam if you download the demo. I think it's on Steam and itch.io as well. So if you don't like DRM from Steam, you can go on itch.io. So I played it. I played the demo, and it was very nice. I think it's very enjoyable. And despite I'm not really a fan of, well, the 1990s, it's still a very enjoyable adventure. And also it's interesting to see if you can make the conclusions of a murder case, because, I mean, normally we are not Sherlock Holmes in our normal lives. So, yeah. Well, so that would be the 2 news items that I have. I don't know if you have anything to share.
No, this time, nothing.
Not at all. Okay, well, then let's jump to the attic of a club not to be named in Hamburg, where Remute interviewed Lego Veldt, which is also the reason why this interview is recorded in vertical, because they were told to give as little of the room and the environment as possible. So it's not because Dennis doesn't know how to hold his smartphone, right? It's because he had to do it that way. Anyway, so enjoy, and let's jump to that. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Remute for Scene World Podcast. I'm very happy to have Danny Wolfers here, aka Lego Veldt. He's one of the most prolific electronic music producers out there, and I think you're around for 20 years, for more than 20 years. Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Certainly. I started making music, dabbling about with my Commodore Amiga in, I guess, 1993, 1992.
Really? Okay.
And then I got my first synthesizer in 1994, probably. I don't know the exact years anymore, but yeah, it all started with the Commodore Amiga. So
okay,
that
cool.
might be interesting for a Scene World.
Absolutely. So you think you started as a kind of you had a very nerdy approach. You started not as a musician, but as a fan of computers. Or?
Yeah, definitely. I was a hardcore cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Proto cyberpunk in the early 90s with my Amiga, Commodore Amiga 500. I got that around when 1990. I got a Amiga 500 when they were a little bit cheaper. And then when the 1200 came out in 1992, I got a second hand in 1993, and that was really nice because it had a hard disk. And yeah, I was really into kind of also like hacking and stuff, but on a very amateur level.
Yeah.
I used to program like a kind of like a phone freak frequency programs in Amiga Basic.
I see.
And Amos later.
I see.
But in
Okay.
Amos I started more programming games. And I had a modem, and you could go to on BBSs, and then it was pretty easy to hack. Like websites of companies, or it wasn't really hacking. You just went in because you could download the passwords of all these companies.
Been a kind of Neo from the Matrix, or
no,
an early
more like
Amiga Neo.
More like 90s.
I see.
style,
So then you said you started as a more kind of hacker, but when
the hacker is a big word.
It's a big word.
I would call it proto cyberpunk. Just
Proto-cyberpunk.
a computer
Sounds
nerd.
very
I was completely, and I did the computer. I explored it on all different levels. I wasn't a very good programmer. I made some games, but they're all amateuristic and mostly written in Amos.
Okay, I see.
You know this language,
Yeah, this language for Amiga,
which is very powerful. And of course, I had Deluxe Paint, and my main interest was in the more artistic side. So I used to play computer games, but I wasn't really interested in playing the games. I was more interested in the worlds they showed or conceived, and how it was made. And for me, playing computer games was kind of boring, except a few exceptions. But mostly I would just check out the music or what was going on, and then try to copy it or something. And like I said, it was mostly the artistic side, especially on the Commodore Amiga, which is was sadly a very powerful artistic computer.
I see, of course, yeah, it was very capable of graphics and stuff, where PCs at the time were not so capable.
Yeah, they were like...
It was pretty avant-garde in this direction. And, I see. So you've been also involved in the early demo scene then, or
Not really. No. I wasn't. I didn't know anybody, you know. So.
But you were aware that there's the kind of demo scene?
Yeah, of course, because I had the demos and stuff. And
Yes.
I thought, oh, these people are like, you know, they're from Germany, you know, from Hamburg. I think there were
There was a lot of
lot
stuff from
here,
Hamburg,
You
yeah,
had
indeed.
of course, also in the cracking and hacking world,
Indeed,
very
indeed.
famous city. I knew that already back then, because on the demos they would communicate about this event happening here.
The greetings.
Yeah, the greetings. What was the big event that happened here for the...
In Hamburg, there was always, I think, the meeting of the Chaos Computer Club.
Chaos Computer Club.
CCC.
Yeah. And you could download these zines.
Yeah.
Chaos
So you've been a lot into the stuff. So when did you make the transition to being a musician?
Well, because like I said, I was very involved in the more artistic side, and then one day I had a copy of Octamet. First, I had a copy of Pro Tracker, I think. Yeah, and then I dabbled about that, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. You can just make your own tracks with that.
I see.
You know, that sound kind of professional, and back then people were really using the Amiga to record music that was released on a record and stuff. A lot of that stuff happened in England. And then I got Octamet, and then I started really delving deep into it. And I started buying synthesizers, because Octamet could also sequence MIDI.
Okay. So it was also MIDI sequence.
Yeah, and sync thing. And of course it was in the first years kind of difficult, because electronic music gear was very expensive back then.
I see.
You know, you didn't have like Behringer or Korg making little €100 TB303s. But of course, in the second-hand market, old analog synths cost like 100 guilders.
Perfect times.
Yeah, these things now cost like, I don't know, you know, you could get like really like a TB303 for 25 guilders, or maybe 100 guilders. Or, I bought a Roland Juno 106 for 150 guilders, which is €75.
Okay, that's a perfectly fine price. So I think today you paid for one. I just saw it on eBay yesterday here in Germany. It was like €1,200.
I don't know. Are we staying in the camera, or are we moving out a little bit, or not?
I think
people are not going to watch it, right? Or like, no.
So we cut this. We cut this.
Okay.
All right. And then you started hunting down synthesizers at the second-hand market mostly. You said, what was it? Was it a kind of? I think we're still talking of the mid '90s here. Yeah, there wasn't.
Yeah, mid '90s. Yeah, 94.
94. Yeah.
95.
So there wasn't really eBay or something like that. There was more like. How did you manage to hunt down the...
Well, every Thursday a newspaper came out that just had advertisements in them for second-hand advertisements. And there was a little section like keyboards and synthesizers. That's mainly, I would buy that, or my dad would buy it.
I see.
Yeah, then you would call the phone number, you know, and it would say like, I don't know what... like Roland Alpha Juno for 200 guilders.
Those were the times, man.
And then you would call and say, can I come collect it, or can you bring it to my house? I said, oh, sure. These people thought, oh, wow, I got 200 guilders from my Roland Alpha Juno. And it was mostly analog synthesizers early DX FM synths, like DX21, and drum machines. Of course, like an 808 was really affordable back then. think I paid like also like 150 euros for my 808. And what was I gonna say? Something interesting.
It was really affordable, everything. And,
Yeah, but for example, samplers were too expensive. I could not afford a sampler back then. They just cost like more than 1,000 euros or 500 euros.
That's really interesting.
And, you know, you're just you know, as a kid, you don't have that.
Yeah, that's really
of course,
interesting.
you can
because
save a few years, but you don't have the patience.
Indeed. I think it's exactly the other way around now. Everybody wants to get rid of hardware samplers. They're damn cheap. Also here in Germany, like I just saw an arcade S2 2400 euros and stuff like that.
That's worth like the old metal price. But
Yeah.
I think there's a threshold.
Yeah.
If they're 12-bit samplers,
they're very popular.
I saw an Ensoniq Mirage for 750 euros today. And all these old S900s, they're extremely expensive nowadays.
Yeah, of course. They have this sound, the special 12-bit reduced sound.
Yeah.
But I think
the S2000 is really boring.
It's just a 16-bit sampler. I think it's just CD quality.
And it's like cumbersome to use, right?
Yeah, it's not fun to use.
Maybe in a few years people will discover it again.
I think everything gets retro after 20 years.
Yeah, of course. It reminds them of the whole
But
days.
back then, I see people wanted to get rid of analog synthesizers because they wanted this sampled sound. They wanted more digital at the mid 90s. And I think analog synthesizers were pretty unpopular then. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, in the late 90s, the companies picked up, analog synthesizers. People really liked it.
Yeah.
And make fake ones, like the Nordlead or the MC303.
Yeah, the Groovebox era.
Yeah, or the GP8000. But then, my first sampler was actually the Roland MKS 100.
I see, okay.
Which is, I don't know, for those who don't know, it's a very... it has a memory of like 120K, I think. And you can put 4 samples in it.
I see.
And with a total length of 8 seconds on a lower bandwidth. It uses a quick disc format. Really
custom
strange
format,
thing, but of course it came with it. And I actually traded a Korg Monopoly for that sampler.
Oh, okay. It seemed reasonable for you at the time.
At the time, that was completely...
Would you do it again? I don't think so.
No, because the MKS 100 is worth like 25 euros.
Yeah, okay, I see.
But the sound is sublime, I think, from an MKS 100.
Okay, so you could load 4 samples in it,
Yeah, and then you would make tracks with that, because I was really... Because of course I had the Commodore Amiga to sample.
Yeah.
And... that is a very powerful sampler, of course, but back then there was this stigma that you didn't understand that it had this powerful sound.
I see.
There was also this thing about that it was not professional.
I see.
You had this idea. Of course, nowadays I think that's total bullshit. You can just use the Amiga to create everything.
Absolutely.
Even though it's 8-bit samples, or I have the 12-bit Aura cartridge.
I see, okay.
So then, you wanted more hi-fi sampling sound. Of course, the dream was an S1000. But that was like
very expensive back in the days.
For millionaires, I thought back then.
For big studios and stuff.
For big
like
studios.
Pop productions and.
Because I knew like they would use that for like real professional productions.
All right. So you, by the time of the, I think we're now at the end of 90s. Think back. So when was the time when you've been thinking that you had a complete studio to start and to feel like a kind of professional? When was the first time for you?
Well, I never thought, I never considered myself a professional.
Okay.
Already in the mid 90s, I had amassed had so many cheap, analog synths.
Yeah.
And I had a mixer and had a tape recorder, and I had speakers and tape recorders I had found on the street.
Okay, cool.
Because my dad and I would always say Thursday was what we call in Holland Gofvel. Then the people would put the big stuff that you couldn't put in the trash.
I see. Okay.
Like furniture and
okay.
also like organs
Yeah.
but especially hi-fi equipment.
Cool stuff.
From the 80s
Yeah.
that worked perfectly,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
nice speakers, cassette decks, and even found a video disc player.
Wow.
Because if you went to the areas, because the city where I lived, Den Haag, also then has a lot of expats and embassies
I
and
see.
international
Okay.
organizations.
Okay.
These people tend to be they have quite a lot of money and they have to move a lot.
So they just threw it away.
They throw away perfectly. I didn't even know what it was. It was like video disc laser player.
Wow.
What is
cool
that?
Stuff.
It was a completely like obsolete, like, or how do you call it, failed format.
Okay. There were many failed formats in the
it was
history of
before
video.
DVD, and of course I would find CD players and all kinds of things, and computers too.
Wow.
I actually we found a completely. My dad found this completely working TRS-80 Model 4.
Wow.
With the screen, and the floppy disk didn't work anymore, but you could program it. And
Amazing.
I still have it. I didn't really take care of it that good.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very.
It still works, yeah.
I haven't turned it on for years. But we turned it on actually for relics of the past. TV series. It was how do you call it, a prop in there.
Interesting. Interesting.
But yeah, and the funny thing is, my dad found the manual for it like a few months before.
Yeah.
Because they had thrown away the manual, and back then I didn't have a computer. But then I read the manual, and it was, wow, this is cool. There's a computer. Wow, and this is, because back then, there was no internet. This is how you got entertained, by like reading manuals of
These
stuff.
were pre-internet times. Okay.
Or
nice.
you watch TV or listen to music or
nice,
play with your friends, or then if you found a manual for a TRS-80 computer, which was very nicely written.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know it, but like so from the late 70s, but it has like a little comic in it with like a computer character, and it was in English, so it was also very exotic for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't really read it, but then I kind of, and of course there were computer listings in it.
Yeah.
So then I thought, that's how you program computers, and then there were games.
Wow.
And I was, wow.
Okay. So you had a kind of hunter and collector approach when regarding your first music equipment. You found a lot of stuff in weird places, like you said, and but then when did you started to produce the first full tracks that you also released? Tell us about it.
Well, actually, tracks that I made around 1994 and 1995 have been released later. Okay. Like in on Dark Days and stuff like that. And it sold, I think it was released like 10 years ago on vinyl officially, and on CD a little bit before, but that sold quite well. And but my first LP came out in 1999. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Bunker Records, and then I just made a lot of LPs, EPs, albums.
Yeah. So what was the way to get in touch with music labels back then? Today we know we can send a lot of spam emails or SoundCloud links or stuff like that. But what was it like before social media, before widespread internet connection? How did you get in touch with Bunker Records?
And that's well, Bunker Records was living are from The Hague also, but also more interestingly, I came in touch with Utrecht. That's a label from Utrecht I never released on, and a guy called Sander Friedeman goes by the name of Random Access. He made records on Jacks Up Beats and a few other labels, and he was also on the BBS's.
I see. Okay.
What was it called? FidoNet or something like this, like this meal system, and there were some BBSs that were kind of like alluding that they were about electronic music, and people would write reviews about the Aphex Twin album or something like that.
Okay.
And then you could write little messages, and he was on there, and he that's actually the person I sent my first demo tapes to.
I see.
And well, he never did anything with it, which is fine. But he would answer questions I had, like how do you set this up, you know? Because sometimes how do you use a Korg SQ10 analog sequencer, you know? Because you know, you find this Korg sequencer, I think for like 50 euros.
Okay.
And then you have it, but you have no clue how to connect it, of course. But then you just try, and he would like explain it and stuff.
Interesting.
So already, and that was around 1994, I think, before the internet. This was on modem BBS networks. There was this communication teaching going on a little bit.
I see.
But then how I came in contact with Bunker Records was we just went to the party where they would play, like the boss of Bunker Records, Gita Fares.
Okay.
We would just give him a cassette tape.
And
then he would listen to it, and then he would call us.
Nice. So a lot of personal connection right then, and
you could also send like demo tapes just to labels, like a post. I think I sent a demo to Warp Records when I was,
indeed.
or I don't know if I
did you send a lot of demo tapes to various labels?
No, I didn't really do it. I was planning it, but then in the late 90s, I didn't. When I started doing this, I thought I want to make a record. And then in the late 90s, I thought I just like to dabble about that. I don't need to make a record. And then the record deals came.
Step by step, you released on a lot of cool labels from the years on. I think 1999 was your first record.
Yeah.
And then step by step, I think then came a lot of other single releases. Also, you had various dance music labels like Cocoon, for example.
That was a big hit, of course. But,
Disco Root.
Disco Root was.
I think it was licensed from another label.
Yeah, from an American label called Ghostly Records.
I see.
Is
okay.
Also a famous label.
Yeah.
Not so much in Europe, but in America, it's a very big label.
I
think maybe it's big here too.
Of course, Ghostly is pretty big. They released Disco Root first, and then
and then
somehow
Cocoon licensed
it because I think Sven Feth played it a lot at the parties back in the days.
At the Love Parade,
Everywhere, and of course it was a massive hit worldwide, and I think this got you also a lot of live gigs. Did you play before also live gigs?
But that's funny. I told this story before, but of course we kind of came from this squatting freak techno scene with like weird places and really punk approach of doing stuff, you know, like. And then when the Cocoon thing happened, I got like bookings in these like huge professional, you know, like
it did blow up,
like raves.
I see.
I didn't really understand, or you know, I completely like missed the boat there to grab on that, because I would bring like other artists from Bunker that would say, can you come play a book at this party in a huge techno hall? And said, oh sure, can I bring my friends from Bunker Records, can they play too? Yeah, sure, whatever you want.
Okay.
And we would stand there in this big hall, and they would play like but techno, and then
I see.
The
early techno song was pretty hard.
I would bring my Commodore Amiga and play Octamet mods.
Amazing.
And then the other guys from Bunker Records, like Orc Electroniki, would also play live, or TLR, he would be DJ, and then who was Smatch Labor, he would play like weird experimental punk music, or like Grandmaster Flash, The Message, or and well, people of course did not like that, and we would empty like the entire rooms, and so we were kind of, or I was kind of like booked for that maybe 5 times before that never happened again, to play the big money gigs, in mega raves or whatever, or like the bit more what is it, like a Premier League?
I see. The more mainstream events and more
of course, I wouldn't call it too mainstream, but we were just these like weirdos, and of course then we kind of returned into the obscurity of the underground, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And then I slowly crawled out of that again. I guess. But in a different way. I still don't really play for like Sven Veit kind of parties, but also more like the interesting
the cool parties.
What we think is cool, or I think that's the scene. Other people think, who are these fucking dorks?
So year by year you got after Disco Route you kind of gathered more artistic freedom to do again your stuff that you really like. Did you have some pressure from Cocoon, like, can you produce Disco Route Part 2 or something like that?
Never pressured me. No. Of course, I did some other tracks on their label, but I guess they kind of knew I wasn't gonna be like in their label thing. I'm too weird for that, or my interests are a little bit different. I guess. But I did a track for them, like, I think a few years ago again. Did I do a track? I don't know. For compilation, maybe?
For their Cocoon compilation.
Or were remixes from...
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know even that stuff, what's coming out, and who I sent it to.
I see. So year by year, then you also somehow made your own label at one point, yeah? Yeah,
I used to have a label called Strange Life Records, and that ran from 2004 till 2010, I think. That was just mainly CDRs, a few vinyls too. I started because I recorded some ambient music, then I sent it. I pressed it on a CDR and sent it to like friends or on the internet. Like,
So you went more the ambient route, and then not so much clubbing stuff with your own label.
Yeah, I've already made ambient music in the 90s.
I see. Okay.
A lot, because I was really fascinated by this music when by Pete Namlook. He was on MTV in 1992 or 1993, maybe, and I was so fascinated, because for me that was even like, you don't even have to have a beat. You can just make completely free music. And I thought that was really cool. And then I would go to the local library and get like Pete Namlook. They had the fax CDs at the The Hague Library, and Brian Eno on Land, and all this weird stuff.
So you followed the ambient route quite a lot. I think your upcoming project is called Ambient Trip Commander,
that's an animation movie I made.
An animation movie, interesting. Tell me about it.
Well, because also it kind of also stems back from the Commodore Amiga.
I see.
Deluxe Paint. I used to make animations on that. And through that I even studied animation on this HKU in Utrecht, which had giant classrooms full of Amigas, Amiga 2000, 3000, 4000, and they were using Deluxe Paint and other more advanced animation software there.
Sure, true multimedia computer.
And this was in the mid-90s. I started at a school, I think, in 1996. the year after they got Macs, of course.
Okay, I see.
But yeah, I had an interest in animation back then and film and stuff, and that's. I think it's through Deluxe Paint that I went to that school to do it, because that was something I could do. I what the hell was I going to study? I don't know. I hate school and everything. And,
but you studied this kind of full time, or how did you?
Yeah. It's like 4 years, like a bachelor.
Okay.
BA Bachelor in Arts.
I see.
In audio visual. I don't know even what.
Yeah, but very interesting that you got into this, and then you followed this, and this animated movie is a kind of continuation from your study.
Yeah, because I never did anything with it, because I was so into music, and through the Corona crisis. How do you call it?
Sure. This 2 years where everybody was at home.
And then in 2020, around August, they were opening up theaters again to do like, but then you had to sit down and watch, and so all these theaters were booking like ambient gigs. And I thought it was a little bit boring to look at me while I, this is like a yawn, So I made some background visuals. Very simple background visuals of a cat floating in a drawn. It's like classic animation drawn, hand drawn, frame for frame, and then put in the computer and animated, scanned in a scanner, and then the backgrounds are sometimes static, of course.
A lot of work.
Yeah, but it started just without any story, just some psychedelic images. And I thought I had an image of an old German train, V200 diesel train. Deutsche Bahn. The red with the really classic train.
Good old Deutsche Bahn.
That train is riding through the snow to the like deep Central European mountains and forests.
Cool.
I made that to play in the background, and of course those gigs were cancelled too because stuff got worse.
Sure.
And I thought, well, that's okay, I don't give a fuck. But then I just started organically working more on this animation, making more scenes, and slowly a story developed. And it's about this girl or a woman who lives in a kind of middle-sized German, I guess it's German.
Okay, it's happening in Germany.
Yeah, I guess it's in Europe. It's in Germany. That works at a synthesizer store where she has a shitty job, like repairing synths and talking to the customers. And she's into computers. And then one day she gets a mysterious email with a train ticket to come to a little secluded village in the Alps. And that's when she takes the train. And there, all sort of stuff happens, and she meets this like kind of like hacking group, secret hacking group that they're creating a weird form of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
That is gonna take over the world, and it's that's kind of the story or synopsis, and then
I see. So you worked on every element from the movie on your own, from the animation, from the music, from...
Because it's doable these days with the technology, with modern computers, it's pretty easy to do. You just draw the frame. Of course, it's not like 12 frames a second, it's a bit like...
choppy or...
but
still fluid.
It's very choppy. Some parts are really fluid.
But indeed, it's old school animation stuff, because you have to write every frame on your own. It's not like a flash animation from some mobile games where the animation is.
But it's the same. But if you draw it fast and you use watercolors,
Yeah.
then you scan it, and in
Yeah.
the computer, you put it behind each other,
Yeah.
and then it's kind of, you have a sprite from a game.
Okay.
And you have these loose sprites that
Interesting.
move, that are drawn,
Yeah.
and then you put them on the background.
Ah.
It also reminds me of like how do you call these point and click adventures?
Yeah.
It's the same, because I used to try to program a few of those also
Very
back in the day.
interesting.
Of
Very
course, if you do that on your own as a kid, it's not gonna work. Of course.
Very interesting. How long did you work on the feature film?
Mid 2020, and I did the last few scenes last month, so that's like what is that, like 20 months maybe?
Okay.
18 months, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah. And of course, I didn't work all the time on it. There
Yeah.
were months I didn't work on it.
Yeah.
So
So when does it get released?
well, the premiere was last week with a live soundtrack in
Yeah.
Amsterdam at the Film Museum in a huge, they have a huge cinema. The live soundtrack thing was a little bit chaotic. I had
You played live the whole
the
soundtrack
soundtrack,
live? Okay.
but then one of the things was panned weird, so now like
Typical premiere stuff. Everything is a little bit provisoric.
yeah, but of course people don't know that,
Yeah.
so
Okay, I see.
For me, it's like
I see. So you have plans of releasing this also on various distribution platforms like DVD or stream or
yeah, sure, but I'm first gonna exploit a little bit by touring, doing the
I see.
soundtrack live.
I see. Cool.
In these days, if you make a film and of this amateuristic nature, I don't think it's gonna be on a streaming platform. I will just throw it on YouTube or something.
I see. Interesting.
But DVDs are fun because then you can make a menu, and like have special features in it. There's some more gigs with that. I'm gonna do it.
You touring with this, and then you also play the soundtrack.
The soundtrack,
I see. Very interesting.
There was a premiere in Russia, which was going to be next week, but of course
I think that won't happen.
Thanks to
Interesting.
that was in St. Petersburg.
Okay.
Sadly, that's
Sure.
And there's going to be some other interesting things.
You have some other projects in the pipeline, or can you tell us about it? Maybe, or they're secret, or
No, you mean music-wise?
yeah, music-wise, or in general, what you up to?
Music-wise, on my Nightwind Records, which is my new label I started in 2014. I will release a couple of things. I made this album with a Japanese dub artist called Mystica Tribe.
Okay.
And he is he's like a Far Eastern sound dub artist with melodica, like very authentic reggae dub, and like the synthesizer and stuff. So that's coming out. It's gonna be called Tascam Space Season.
I see. Okay.
And, that was recorded in The Hague and Tokyo. And what else? There's some other stuff coming too.
A lot of stuff coming out. So
I'm doing an album for Clone, which
okay.
I don't know when that's coming out. I'm saying that.
You're still working on it.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, but because of the animation, I didn't have time to mix it down. So,
Cool stuff. So a lot of stuff is happening in the Lego Veldt.
Yeah.
Very nice. Cool. Thanks for this amazing talk. And I think let's go downstairs to your gig and let's party at PAL Hamburg. And thank you very much. This was Remute. This was Lego Veldt. And nice. Bye.